Google Cloud partnered with VMware because we're in the business of helping simplify the cloud journey for customers.
Customers want to move to the cloud for scale, agility, lowering their cost, and developing a whole new set of cloud-native services and apps.
It eliminates the need for them to manage infrastructure and lets them focus on building new solutions for their customers.
I love that video. Tells you in 30 seconds what this whole session is about. Hi everyone, I'm Manoj Sharma, and I lead the VMware product management team in Google Cloud. And I'm really happy to be here, and let's get going. Today in this session, we'll learn the problems that enterprises face when they look to transform to the cloud. We'll see how Google is addressing this problem through our new offering called VMware Engine. We'll also get a look at the scenarios where the service helps to solve these problems. And then we'll take a deeper look into how various Google Cloud services can improve the way you consume VMware. So by now, we all understand the benefits of the cloud, including the innovation and the agility it can bring. And we've understood this for years now. But when we look at the report card of cloud transformation, we find that most applications are still on premises. And so we're wondering, why is that? We spoke to hundreds of customers to find out why, and we heard that companies often find cloud transformation projects to be more expensive, time-consuming, and disruptive to operations than what they originally thought. So we sat down with them to understand why that is the case. And we learned that it's not that obvious. If you're writing a new application, then the cloud has a great set of tools and solutions to help you build it. But what if it's an existing app? Oftentimes, the app is written by someone else, or it's a third-party app. And keep in mind, it's not just about running the application or the VM. IT does a lot more with the application than just let it run. It creates business continuity through backup and DR. It creates operations support through monitoring and logging. And it has to meet audit and compliance requirements. So to summarize, we realize that the key reason cloud adoption is slow is that IT needs to solve the problem holistically and not just get a platform to run applications. And when we look inside IT, the largest on-premises IT platform is VMware, used by over 500,000 users, and it runs over 55 million virtual machines worldwide. And Google and VMware recognized, as you saw earlier in the video, that they can not only help their customers transform to the cloud, but also accelerate and simplify the transformation by partnering. And so we announced our partnership late last year to make VMware a first-class citizen of Google Cloud. And that's the theme you will see throughout this presentation. It's a theme of partnership, a theme of complementarity, and how one makes the other better. We'll see how you can get the best VMware experience on the planet on Google Cloud. And what better way to describe what we're doing than to see a demo? And now we're going to put on the hat of an IT administrator looking to run VMware on Google Cloud because, let's say, for example, you have run out of capacity on premises. So let's take a look. So you've come to the Google Cloud console to run VMware. You can get access to the console by clicking on VMware Engine, which allows you to not only create a VMware environment, but also perform common setup and management functions. So let's go ahead and create a VMware private cloud. A private cloud is a dedicated private capacity running on Google bare metals and on Google Cloud locations operated by Google. You get hyper-converged nodes that give you high levels of VM density. You can choose how many nodes you want in your initial environment. You can always change this later, as we shall see. You allocate a network space for this environment, and that's it. 4 simple clicks, and you can go ahead and create a new VMware environment in the cloud. What you'll find is that the service gives you the fastest VMware experience from the time you click to the time you consume the VMware. It just takes 30 to 40 minutes. The environment is very compatible with how you consume VMware on-prem as well. It runs a fully redundant 100 gigs of networking, giving you 4 nines of availability in a single site. And you can consume VMware in a very cloud-like fashion. So let's say I miscalculated my initial capacity. Well, not a problem. I can go ahead and expand my environment by adding nodes. And this takes a matter of minutes in the cloud compared to much longer doing the same thing on premises. Now, the service includes all networking necessary to run VMware. It has a bunch of service features to enable VMware networking, including subnet views that allows you to see all your management and workload networks. You can always create firewalls to segment and secure your environment. So here in this interface, I'm creating a firewall rule. The interface is very simple and flexible to capture all the common options. You can also, once you've done this security procedure, allocate public IPs. And the public IP allocation might be to a desktop or a web server. And it's an action that takes, that's instant, and this kind of activity would normally take much longer on premises. You can also create site-to-site VPN devices to get out-of-band management support. Now, my VMware environment is fully integrated with Google Cloud networking so that I can connect to on-premises to other VMs in Google Cloud services directly and natively over the cloud fabric. I can even control policies such as disallowing network egress from the cloud VMware cloud environment. And so it's a very flexible and complete network interface. Now, the service also comes with a lot of enterprise manageability features. I can see alerts for any important changes happening in the environment. I can see all activity being performed by various users in the system, and I can get a log of all such actions. And I can see a bird's eye view of the account as well as other users in the system. Now, let's do the most common action expected in the environment, which is to access the VMware interface. To do that, I just go to a private cloud and I can access the vSphere UI from that cloud, which is my familiar and common VMware interface. I can now use that interface to deploy workloads and configure policies or migrate workloads from on-premises onto this environment. Now, the platform's fully integrated with Google Cloud, as I mentioned. Not only do I use my Google Cloud identities to do what I just did, but I can also configure my environment to live inside VPC subnets. And I can therefore essentially get a view of my networking across my public cloud, other public cloud services and VMware. And I can also see my consumption and billing in one place in the console alongside all the other consumption that I'm doing in this context. And what's more, I also get end-to-end support for this service from Google. And whether it's a VMware problem or a Google Cloud problem, the service will address that for you. So now let's go ahead and put this in context. When you think about cloud transformation, you need to think about the amount of change you're making to your deployment. Are you changing or creating an app with modern application design? Or are you also changing IT processes around that and creating new ones? If you're changing both the IT and the app architectures, or if you're developing greenfield apps, you can go directly to the cloud native designs using Kubernetes or the various other application platform services that exist in Google Cloud. But if you're keeping the app as is inside the VM, you can deploy the VM directly into the cloud. This implies, of course, you're changing IT and set up new procedures for, let's say, backup or monitoring. However, if you don't have the luxury of changing either, then you can go directly into the VMware deployment, as I just showed you from your on-premise VMware using VMware Engine. So let's summarize. What you get when you consume this service? You get dedicated, isolated infrastructure running on physical bare metal nodes. It also includes all networking required, includes the private distributed storage that's necessary to consume VMware. You get high levels of RAM, as well as storage to meet your application resource needs on the latest gear, all flash NVMe devices for storage. You get 100 gigabits of non-oversubscribed, fully redundant network designs. And in the VMware stack, the service takes care of all lifecycle management, including upgrades and failure handling. And the service, as I mentioned, is fully integrated from a networking standpoint, from a billing standpoint, from an identity standpoint, as well as an end-to-end support standpoint. So what are the benefits of all these features and capabilities? Now, in talking with customers, two factors stood out as key impediments in performing cloud transformation and cloud migrations. The first is, of course, that there's a lot of overhead in migration if you'd want to change the app or you change the IT, as we saw. The other is the implications, the cost implications of doing these kinds of changes, the retraining that you need. And all of this results in, a substantial slowdown and a substantial risk to your business in many cases. And as you can see, VMware Engine solves these problems. The ease of migration, there's no change to your VM or your app required. You can migrate those applications directly and maintain your continuity. There's no retooling required. You use the exact same tools for business continuity and operations and security and networking as you do on premises. But the service helps you substantially lower your costs. Since the environment is a dedicated cloud, you do not have to allocate CPU resources 100% to your VMs. All workloads do not burst together, and the workloads are all pooled into an environment that's dedicated to you. So you can use the VMware platform's overcommit capabilities to improve the workload density. And this lowers cost, plus the fact that you can match your demand and your capacity by allocating capacity only as much as you need, rather than provisioning it for peak. That also helps you keep the cost low. And with the Google Cloud efficiencies and economies of scale, you can expect the benefits to be passed on to you through lower costs in the service. Not to mention, of course, the Google Cloud security, the self-service and automated consumption that also improves your efficiency and agility, and the various innovative services that we learn more about subsequently in this presentation. And so all these benefits keep adding up to the initial benefits of migration and easy cloud transformation. So when should you think about this service? The first and foremost kind of scenario that we see is a capacity event, such as a data center reaching the end of the lease, or a hardware farm that needs a refresh. So that's a scenario where you would need more capacity, and that's a good reason to think about running VMware in Google Cloud. When you'd like to set up a new DR environment, that's another good example, rather than go out and get another data center stood up and pay the extra cost. Or for example, if you have multiple DR environments, you want to consolidate them and reduce costs once again, that's a good reason to consider DR to VMware Engine from your on-premise or your leased data center VMware. Now, due to the private dedicated nature and with the high-end infrastructure, the NVMe, the 100 gigs of networking we talked about, you can get really high levels of performance for your performance sensitive and latency sensitive workloads. These could be transactional workloads, operational workloads, real-time analytics, high performance computing, and so forth. Now, the VMware stack has advanced and powerful VDI infrastructure. And in today's work from home contexts, you can very easily expand to take advantage of the cloud capacity and agility for your desktop needs and remote worker needs. Now, this service is not just about getting VMware in the cloud and stopping there. You want to take advantage of cloud services, of new application architectures, of the innovation of Google Cloud services. You can develop new apps in GKE and Anthos, for example, which can reach back into the databases that are running on VMware. Or you can use services such as BigQuery to transform your data, data warehousing, or supercharge your analytics through AI and ML services that Google Cloud offers. And we'll see some examples. Now, our service has been in preview with many customers over the last few months. Deutsche Börse Group is a marketplace organizer for the trading of shares and other securities, and is a transaction services provider in the financial markets. They found that the instant provisioning, the ability to get a new VMware environment in a few minutes, is very compelling as it brings a new level of agility to their IT. QAD Incorporated is a software company that provides enterprise resource planning software and related software for manufacturing companies. They found that the automated deploy, the upgrade, the failure handling, and the easy DR frees them from infrastructure dependencies and helps them focus on the consumption and the workload delivery. So one of the questions I very often get is, can I just bring VMware, or can I bring everything else that I do on top of that? How can I make my VMware consumption better in the cloud? The answer is, we offer a fully compatible VMware experience. So you can bring your existing tools and processes as is. You can bring VMware first-party tools for operations management, for DR, for large-scale infrastructure management through vRealize Automation and vCloud Director. You can also take advantage of the VMware ecosystem of providers, technology providers in the spaces of backup, business continuity, DR, monitoring, security, networking, and so forth. In addition, you can take advantage of Google Cloud services, which can improve the way you monitor VMware, as well as the rest of your applications, the way you backup, the way you do application development, the way you can do warehousing. And I'm going to give very concrete and specific examples of all of these in subsequent slides. In addition, third parties are building support for Google Cloud. NetApp is a partner that offers native support for their storage platform, which is integrated with Google Cloud. And it enables use cases such as DR, data movement, and also workload storage. So I've talked about some examples. Now let's double click into how Google Cloud can actually supercharge VMware consumption by looking at some examples of service integrations. So once you have your VMware environment up and running in Google Cloud, a key question is, how do you enable data protection for production workloads? Backup is the most common way to achieve that. The good news is that since the service offers a native VMware platform, it is fully compatible with your existing VMware-based backup tools, so you can get into production quickly with no change. However, in the cloud, you can do better. In your on-premise deployments, You often have secondary storage, which are lower cost storage environments to store backups. However, to ensure that you can survive local site failures, you often have to do offsite backups into tape drives, through tape drives, or perhaps into the cloud. But now that your VMware is literally in the cloud, there is no need to make expensive copies and to ship data to multiple locations to get better availability and disaster resiliency. You can back up your data into cloud storage and choose how quickly you want to restore your data, as well as the redundancy level of your storage backups. So for example, you can choose to have your data stored in nearline storage and select geo redundancy to ensure that you can survive a single site failure at an extremely low price point. Thus, you can get better recovery times, better availability, and at much lower cost compared to your on-premise backup infrastructure. Now, your VMware infrastructure has production workloads, databases, and line of business applications. As you look to modernize this infrastructure, you want to take advantage of technologies like containers and Kubernetes. Well, Anthos lets you build and manage container-based hybrid and multi-cloud applications. You develop once and run these applications across your existing on-premises infrastructure or any major public cloud provider. Using Anthos, you can run these applications on VMware Engine as well. Some of the benefits of doing this is that you get a dedicated private environment with latest hardware, 100 gigs of networking. Your workloads can be right next to the databases for the lowest latency and best performance. And since your environment is single tenant, you get the benefits of the privacy and the security of dedicated infra. Now, as you consume VMware in the cloud, you also want to ensure that you avoid the screen swivel for operations management. For example, if you have a performance problem, you want to troubleshoot all aspects of the application dependencies in one place, rather than go to different systems to solve different parts of the problem. While the VMware engine fully supports existing VMware monitoring and logging tools without changes, as you start to develop hybrid applications, for example, using Anthos, that partially might live outside of VMware, getting all of your operations data in one place is going to be important. To solve this problem, you can use Google Cloud's Operations, formerly it was known as Stackdriver, to collect metrics, logs, traces across VMware Engine, as well as other Google Cloud services. You can then use the built-in out-of-the-box dashboards to view and monitor the platform and the applications. And you can then query and analyze these signals intelligently. And you can see information from the platform, from vCenter, from ESXi, and you can do log analysis. There's no agent required. And in fact, VM level data, CPU, memory, disk, and network usage is all included, all available as part of the signals that come from the VMware platform without having to install any agents inside the workloads themselves, the VMs themselves. But if you so want, you want deeper view into the application metrics, telemetry, then you can use open source agents and collect additional logs and metrics from inside the VM and from the application contexts directly. So if you want to troubleshoot any application or gain insights for optimization or usage, you can do it all in one place in Google Cloud's Operations. Now, when you peek inside a typical VMware deployment, you're going to find that the top workloads are often based on databases like SQL Server and Oracle. And typically, these are operational transactional databases that feed into data warehousing infrastructures. Often, these warehousing infrastructures are proprietary and expensive. They require explicit infrastructure management and maintenance. But Google provides data services that simplifies and supercharges this process. BigQuery is a serverless, highly scalable, and cost-effective data warehouse designed to help you turn big data into informed business decisions. It works seamlessly for real-time analytics and automatically scales as your data scales so that your data continues to make sense to you without you having to change your infrastructure every time you have a scale change. Tools like Tableau and Data Studio work seamlessly with BigQuery to help you better understand your information. And you can use services such as Cloud Data Flow to incrementally ingest data, embellish it with different sources coming from various different systems, clean it dynamically before it's fed into the BigQuery system. So you can become more efficient, more intelligent, and more agile with data analysis, and save cost while you are at it. So as you can see, the service enables you to not only bring VMware to Google Cloud, but also the services and innovation of Google Cloud to VMware to give you the best of both worlds. So now that we've seen all the features and benefits of running VMware in Google Cloud, when and where can you get it? As you see the deployment plan in this screen, Google Cloud is fully committed to make sure that you get VMware in the location you prefer. We are expanding quickly and widely, and you should be able to consume VMware in 10 regions by the end of this year. And I have to note that this is the fastest and widest deployment of a VMware in the public cloud from any provider. So to summarize, you can see that Google has a number of technical advantage that gives you a very compelling, very compatible, and high performance enterprise infrastructure for your VMware environments. The VMware service that VMware Engine offers is fully integrated with Google Cloud. It gives you the highest level of availability of any cloud provider, and you get a single source for all your VMware and cloud needs, including support, transaction, billing, and so forth. So it's a very cost-effective and very compelling offer that helps you supercharge your cloud transformation and application modernization. So that's a wrap, folks. If you would like to find out more, you can go to the product page at cloud.google.com/VMware-engine. If you have any questions for the product team, you can send an email to vmware-engine@google.com. And you can also check out other sessions, chat with VMware Engine experts, and also check out a digital demo via the next on-air page. With that, I thank you for your time and attention today, and I hope you all stay safe. Thank you.